It's time for Push2Plat, your weekly trophy podcast with Mindi and CJ.
Good morning, good afternoon, good day, listeners, wherever you may be, however you may be. Welcome and thank you for joining us to episode 48. Look, it is a special episode today. It's going to be a chilled episode. It's going to be relaxed. I'm already feeling the positivity, Mindi. We have a wonderful guest, but just before we get there, let's check in with you. How are you today, Mindi?
I could use some positivity. It's not been a good week. It's starting to get better, and I'm looking forward to getting a jolt of positivity today.
Excellent. Well, look, I've scoured the internet, as you know, listeners, in search of guests, and rarely do I come across somebody who is so calm, so positive, so friendly, just so lovely. Now, I'm talking here of the host of Coffee Cove. You may be familiar with his PSN user reviews. And of course, I'm talking about the wonderful LawlessLlama. How are you today, Mr. Llama?
Good. How are you?
Look, I'm fantastic. And look, I have to get this out of the way. I love to say llama llama a lot. So I may do that. Sometimes I
That
throw...
makes two of us.
Oh, good. Sometimes I throw a doctor in front of it. So Dr. Llama Llama. I don't know why. I just love it. It's fantastic.
I say drama llama.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Drama llama.
well, one of the things when I first discovered about Llama is that, and on his profile, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Llama, you actually say you're not a drama llama. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
which is an important distinction.
They appear a little bit more friendly. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I want to find out from the very offset if we can. Can we find out about the history behind your name?
Of course. Before I really got into this current account on PlayStation, I was a pretty big PC gamer. I had my own kind of setup and rig and everything, and I loved playing a lot of titles on there. And I started running into a lot of Steam users with animal-based usernames. And for some reason, I was like, I want to do that. I can't remember what my previous username was, but it was boring. I didn't have a lot of flair to it. So I was just like, okay, maybe I'll choose an animal. And my username is not in connection with Fortnite because I know llamas are pretty huge in there. But I don't know, for some reason. Oh, well, one of the reasons I chose llamas, one of my favorite movies that I grew up watching was Emperor's New Groove. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yes!
So llamas are a central part of that film. I love that. And so I was like, dude, I'm gonna do that. And then it was coming up with some other part because I was like, okay, I can't just put llama with a bunch of numbers after it. So I don't even know how I got to Lawless. Maybe I was watching like Live PD or some other cop show. I promise I stay within the confines of the law.
I like that.
I'm so happy you like Emperor's New Groove. I took a quote from that movie and put it in my senior yearbook page.
Oh, that's a power move.
It was a power move, and it was cheese me no likey,
I love that.
which I love cheese, so it was more of a in joke with, it was like a personal message to a
Mhm.
friend who was in the same class.
Hey, but if people get it, they're cultured then, so they understand.
That's very true. I did not take my senior yearbook page seriously at all.
I can't wait till in the future you could do like voice recordings alongside like your yearbook. So then you could do like, how at the end of the movie, Isma's turned into the cat and she's like, is that my voice? And just do that.
Listeners, I'm often reminded at how many generations I'm removed from our guests, but I'm firmly reminded now. Look, I also like the alliteration of LawlessLlama. It's just fantastic.
Rolls off the tongue a little bit.
Yeah, it really does. Now, you opened the door a little bit here, so I'd like to hear a little bit more about your gaming history. You said you're a PC player, so what made you make the shift across to console, or are you still both?
Well, no, I'm no longer both. I primarily just play PlayStation. Growing up, some of the first consoles I played on were like a PS1 and PS2. So a lot of my earlier gaming experiences, even though I was born in the 90s, or towards the tail end of the 90s, were based off of those systems alone. We had a GameCube, and I loved playing on that as well. But PlayStation's always just held that kind of special part in my heart. So some of my favorite titles, like I remember playing Sly Cooper growing up, and then once the PS3 came out and I got a little bit older, I was able to play Uncharted, and that quickly has become one of my favorite series of all time. Um, and so when I had jumped over to PC, I don't remember the initial reason I did it. I think I was just like everybody in my school was making PCs. I was like, man, I should make one too. And then I started enjoying games on there. But we still had a couple PlayStations in the house. Um, and then I got mine because I was tired of just playing around on PC. I think I'd gotten tired of like some of the $2 really cheap games that people just kept posting and everything like that on the Steam store. And that's not to say that there's not great games, because there is great games. But I was really interested in playing PlayStation again. A lot of my friends had it. My family, we already had two PS4s. So I was like, okay, if I get that, I could still play with my dad and my brother. And just have some fun across all of that. And it has a lot of some series that I grew up with, or series that I was interested in getting into in the first place.
Yeah, I like that. So, were you like an achievement hunter on PC, or is this something that gestated and happened when you moved across to the console?
I would maybe say like 50% I was. There was some games where I genuinely was like, okay, I want to get into achievements with this. I want to unlock everything. I think one of the games that I cleared first and foremost when I played on Steam was Dishonored, because I was really into just
Mm.
playing that multiple times and enjoying the sandbox feel of it. Um, but then I can't point back to like my old PS3 account, because if you look at that thing, I got 2 platinums and like barely any percentages, and it kind of gives me a little bit of a heart attack looking back at it now and seeing like, wow, look at all these games I played for 2 seconds and never touched them again after I got one trophy.
Oh, so you used to be CJ.
Yeah. That gives me a lot of anxiety. I don't know where it stems from, but now, especially because I buy most of my own games, I see achievement hunting not only is or trophy hunting not only is something that's fun and enjoyable, and kind of gives me a break from just everything that's going on in my day to day life, but also it sets kind of goals for me with those games to go back and do more. Yeah, Uncharted was one of those that did that to me.
So, I think I already know the answer to this, but for our listeners that aren't familiar with you and your account, what type of trophy hunter are you? Are you a completionist?
I try to be as much as I can. There's some games that I've put on that account that I will never complete. But then again, there's also been games that I walked away from, was like, you know what, I'm gonna give that another try, and then went back a little bit. Like I'm doing that with Furi right now. I took about a 5 6 month break from that game. I came back and started working towards the platinum again. So I think I should have that. I think I may even have it tonight.
Never complete because you can't, or never complete because you just don't want to?
Never complete because I can't. I don't. I think there's very few games that I would not complete because I don't want to. There's obviously some games I played on my account that I didn't necessarily enjoy, but I did get the 100% for. But like for example, I have the Crew, the original like open world driving game from Ubisoft, and they have a second one out. But I recently started going through that, and I had 2 trophies glitch on me that I can't get reset. So that's a platinum that's kind of being left behind because I just can't get it. Not necessarily that I don't want to.
So, but if you leave something incomplete, it's more often because, like, servers have shut down, right?
Yeah, servers have shut down, or I know my own personal limit too. Sometimes I'll keep a couple games rolling at one time, but I know I'm going to come back to it. I did the same thing with Hollow Knight too. I love that game. That's obviously probably one of my favorite games of all time. I put it up there, and I just couldn't get past the last thing. I took a break, came back, and got it immediately, and I was so happy about that.
Mm.
I think sorry for the grilling here, Llama. Mindy is just filling out she's
No,
just
dude,
filling
you're
out the
good.
completionist handbook to see if you qualify or not. It's a very select club, as you know. So I think you're
Oh,
I think
okay. Is it like do I have to
look,
reach a certain amount of points, or is this more like a
It's more of a feeling you get.
okay,
You get a vibe from some people.
a vibe? Okay, I got to make sure I got the completionist vibe then. I gotta start nervously sweating over my account.
well, it's coming back to you now. So, but look, when they open the doors to that clubhouse, please let me know what it's like, because they keep rejecting my application for some reason. So, I would love to know what
You
goes
know, they
on.
say persistence is the
That's
best.
right.
Persistence is the best key, so I'm sure if you keep sending that application in, sooner or later, they're gonna be like, "Wow, this guy has the persistence of a completionist. He is one.
Yeah.
Bring him
Yes,
in.
the anti-completionist.
Oh, see, now that's my bad because we always assumed it was a joke and you just wanted to make us laugh. Because how could we take you as a completionist?
Yeah.
I'm going to complete the entire catalog, but not finish them yet. It's a different type of completion, I feel,
Yeah.
Llama. So look,
Yeah.
why don't we move in now? Look, I want to ask just before we get into this, because obviously we're going to get into all your creation and stuff like that in the topic after this section. But are you?
Mhm.
Because you do this, you've done this a lot. I see 22 user reviews. What's it like now potentially being on the other end where we're going to ask you to talk about games you've played and potentially vulture your list a little bit here?
We're gonna judge you.
Lots of anxiety right now. I might run out the door in just 2 minutes depending on, no, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm very open about my list. It's a little strange being on the other side because I'm so used to having to look through, and a lot of research goes into my videos, and obviously we could talk about this later, but there's a lot of games that I'll often run into that I honestly don't know, and that obviously either gives me a motive to go back after the review and look at those games and get some background for them, or to kind of see about them too beforehand. So it's going to be interesting too. But I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good.
Really delve into that. But let's take a look first then at what you've been playing, if you like, over the last week or couple of weeks. What would you like to share?
Of course. So recently I went back and I finished Division Two's new DLC for Coney Island, which was really fun. Division 2 is one of the games that I still have a lot of friends that play, and I still play with. For example, my dad loves any type of shooter, whether it's first person or third person, and that's one game that we've been able to keep in contact with and just to play together, even with our crazy schedules. So we were able to go through the DLC for that recently. Furi was one that I'm working my way very slowly through the hard difficulty mode, Fury or difficulty, which is kicking my butt quite a number of times. But I know that there's growth from every single failure that I have, so I just have to keep pressing forward, and sooner or later I'll get it.
Excellent. Now, look, I'm just going to jump in here for a second because I want to go back to the
Of course.
division. You're very succinct there, but I was just looking through. So you've been doing these DLC trophy packs as they come out,
Hmm.
basically, or whatever. And of course, we're on the verge now in March of a big expansion, I suppose we can call it, isn't it?
Yes.
That's about to
Yes.
drop in the next few weeks. So looking through this, see, I'm only interested because I actually dropped back last night and finally did the Manning's National Zoo.
Oh,
That's
that's a
right.
beautiful
That
mission.
I think it's like the first one. Oh, it's fantastic! Yeah. So, how are these other ones? Because I don't know about these, the Pentagon and Coney Island. Are they as good?
I would say that they're also as good. I'm not sure. They're a little bit different because each of them, like Coney Island, you don't you arrive in the or Coney Island, the Manning National Zoo. You arrive in the zoo and you play kind of from start to finish through that one mission, and it takes you out of the area immediately. With the other two DLC packs that came out, the Pentagon and now Coney Island, when you land in, it's kind of like you have a really miniature hub, but you still have like a safe house, and then you can find the one or two missions within this small general area. The look of the levels though is still fantastic. I found a lot of fun just kind of seeing even little Easter eggs like in Coney Island, you run into an arcade, and some of the arcade machines have like classic Ubisoft games on them, which was really cool just to run around and see. But I think also I'm not sure if I can be the best representative of like how long it might take to complete the missions. Because I the first DLC pack had come out, there was something called Kenley College. I don't know if you remember this, and it was like a little area that you could go off with a group of friends or people in your squad, and you can complete it. And it was based around puzzles, but you would basically clear out three wings of a university, and through doing that, you get this really overpowered rifle called the Diamondback, and it can decimate enemies within one or two shots if they're kind of like the lower story enemies. Because with the DLCs, you can't change difficulty until you go through it at least once on the story mode difficulty. So I was blazing through those fights, but I still had a lot of fun. I think that's what's most important too.
Yeah, yeah. No, look, it's interesting because not too many of our guests have played this game, or definitely not 100% at it, which is a fantastic achievement, so, especially with that
Ugh.
earlier raid as well.
That's actually kind of the theme for me because I've been vulturing your list here, and I want to ask about some stuff because people have, we've done this long enough that you start to see kind of the
Mhm.
standard stuff.
Yeah,
You have a lot of interesting stuff that not a lot of people have played that I would like you to expound upon.
of course.
First one being you've platinumed Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion.
Yes, it was awesome. I played the original free demo when it was on Steam, and I had a lot of enjoyment with it. I'm one of my favorite genres of games overall is anything to do with horror. I love horror movies as well, and I love Stephen King's novels. So it kind of all just coalesces into one giant love for horror as a whole. Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion though was a lot of fun. Definitely a lot more going into trophy hunting it than I thought. I did the most of it on a live stream, and I had a couple people join. Were like, "Wait, this is a horror game. I'm out. I'm leaving. I can't deal with this," which is kind of funny to see. It's not as difficult though as you might imagine. I think the hardest thing for me was getting through on the regular playthrough without using like the axe, which is a weapon that you get, which means you can't really fight back against any of the monsters that are chasing you. But you get keyed into like the strategy that you're supposed to
Mhm.
utilize to face off against each monster.
Isn't it like a 5 or 6 playthrough platinum?
Yes, because you need at least I think if two or three platinums or run throughs for like the regular mode, you need to do at least two playthroughs of like the endless mode, and then two playthroughs of the Chemikari Hospital edition. So yeah, about six in total, I would say. And I'm sure there's some very, very talented people that manage to probably get it in less, especially in a less amount of time as well. But still very enjoyable overall.
Recommended for people to play, or because I'm like you, I thought it was fun. I played the Steam
hmm
one back before it was called HD Renovation, and I thought it was fun, but I haven't played the HD Renovation.
I mean, I would definitely pick it up. As always, I'd probably wait for a sale because I think I bought it full price. It was maybe $10, which isn't bad at all. But I really enjoyed it. If you're a fan of horror games, I would definitely play it. If not, there might be some stuff that can be very anxiety causing. And I know when I streamed it, I had to be careful too because there was flashing lights. So if you're somebody that has like gets epileptic seizures, it might be good to steer clear of this one
Mhm.
just to be safe of that as well. But it does have some really just fun stuff. Obviously, some of like the trophies where you have to run through 1,000 floors or play through the game without monsters and stuff. I just put on a YouTube video and I just listened to that while I was going through it. And it made it a lot better.
It is randomized, right? I'm not wrong in thinking that all of the floors are randomized, so
I believe so.
it's not like you can just follow, a video walkthrough like you could with something like, Outlast.
Oh no, because I know like one of the most randomized portions of it would be like the endless mode where you need to run through and see all the different monsters or get chased. And so like I could play through that mode and get several different monsters that you didn't get in combination, which can make your playthrough a lot harder. I think with the standard mode, everything should be pretty much relatively the same. I know you can follow a walkthrough for the hospital DLC thing, um, if you were so inclined.
Interesting. Are there other games there, Mindy? Because I also see that you've 100%ed Steep as well.
Oh
That's
yes.
that's quite an achievement too. How did you find that game?
I can't remember what month it was, but it was given out as a free PlayStation Plus game a while back. And I know my brother was really interested in playing
Hmm.
it. So I was like, sure, I'll jump onto it. I got the platinum in like 3 days because that's all I played. And I had a blast with it. And then recently, I had a friend that wanted to play through the DLC completely. So we both bought it and we were just working our way through that and just fantastic. It's on the level of like SSX.
I agree with you. It really is. It's something I played it at launch, and it was like it came out of nowhere. This game, in fact, I remember at the time Ubi were offering. It was off the back of another game, like access into their closed beta or something, and I was like, "Oh, a skiing game. That's not
Mm,
something you see very often, or whatever." And even at that
yeah.
stage, it was. I mean, so this was a couple of years ago, I suppose. It was a little bit of rough around the edges, but it came together, and I mean, it's such a super chill game. I mean, and the indie music
Mhm.
throughout it as well. Look, it's also very tough. I know that some of those challenges are crazy hard, but you
Yeah.
just skiing or snowboarding just down, it's so relaxing.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you about it just being relaxing because I know even after I finished the platinum, if I was just having a tough day or something like that, jump into the game, put yourself up on a tall mountain and spend 20 minutes just kind of gliding through. And with the music in the back, as you said, it's just kind of one of those serene experiences. I don't really think you could experience it in many other games for that matter. unless you were maybe
Yeah.
actually snowboarding, which is there might be quite a little bit more stress involved with that.
The ultimate goal. I agree. Now, look, I'm gonna be selfish for one more moment here, Mindy, and ask only because I've heard so many conflicting things about this game, and I see you've also platted it out and completed it. Of course, the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Ooh.
How did you find this Metroid element-like game?
Yeah, I loved it. I've been a big fan of Star Wars growing up, and obviously with Disney Plus coming out with The Mandalorian has been one of those things that I've been obsessing a little bit over. But I think I watched the first episode of The Mandalorian. At the end of that, I was debating whether or not I was going to buy this game on release, and then after watching that episode, I was like, yeah, I can't wait until like the next episode comes out. I'm buying this game, and I ended up just purchasing it right then and there. I really enjoyed it. I know some people were a little kind of thrown off by the Metroid and having to backtrack, and I agree with one of the complaints that it might have been better to have like a checkpoint system, similar to like maybe the Dark Souls, where you can kind of travel back to previous areas but really quickly. And I think one of the things that I experienced too is because while I was
Mm.
backtracking, I was running through the area so fast, it didn't have time to load completely. So I fell through quite a number of floors because of that. But I don't really think that soured my whole experience with the game. I found the combat and traversal to be just really, really inviting and just a lot of fun. And I'm a sucker for
Mm.
any Dark Souls game or Dark Souls like experience. So this was kind of right up my alley as well. Having to take my time learning how to use all my abilities to be the best that I could be.
So, seeing that you brought it up, how do you feel about Metroidvanias?
That's one of my favorite genres of gaming.
Boom!
So I love, for example, Hollow Knight is probably one of the best Metroidvania games I've ever played.
How about have you played Ori and the Blind Forest? Because CJ is still kind of wrecked about that one.
No, I have not. I need to see that may be the only thing I would get back on PC just to play through that. I've seen lots of gameplay of it and kind of been like, wow, I really hope that comes to PlayStation, but we'll see.
I think it's an Xbox and I think it's a Microsoft exclusive.
No, single tier.
I don't
Yeah.
know, right?
I think I remember saying that and I was like, of course.
Then you'll probably really like last week's episode. I got my revenge and we talked about Metroidvanias for an hour and a half.
Very beautiful.
So I'm basically ceding my what I've been playing time to you because I've only played one thing this week, so I'll take about 5 minutes. And I want to ask you about a couple of things that you've played in the last year.
Well, I'm honored that you would give up your time to me,
I,
but
well,
yeah.
I haven't. I mean, I guess I could, vamp for 15 minutes about one thing, but I really don't feel like it. First of all, and I'm so happy that you've not only played this, but you have platinumed it. Adventure Pals,
Oh, that was a great game.
right? Thank
Yeah,
you.
I remember seeing that on PlayStation Access because I think they did like a mini stream before it came out, and I was like, "Yeah, I need to buy that," and I got it, and I just really enjoyed it. I wish I would have had somebody to play through like co-op because I think that would have been really fun too. But I don't know what it was about that game. It was phenomenal to play through. I really enjoyed it. It was one of those feel-good games that you feel happy and positive while playing through it.
It's really cute and fun, and I'm so happy you've played it. I want to give this game as much love. CJ, this is gonna be the new Liar Princess, at least for me this year.
Yeah, I've heard you talk of it.
I'm just gonna hawk the game to everyone.
I'll do the same. That's
Excellent,
a
excellent.
beautiful game.
It's so cute.
You know what? Interesting here, Llama. You have a severe lack of spam on your list, which well, I mean, you're not completely free. I see some Doodle God and Doodle Devil down here,
Yeah,
but
I
it took a
have
long
some.
time to find that. And so, there's some hero trials. Now you've got this delightful game. Look, I think you, I, and probably about 3 other people in the world know about this game. The Doggone Golfing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you finished it. This is a massive.
That was literally the next game on my
Oh,
list that I wanted to ask him about.
excellent. Are you familiar with this game, Mindy?
Yeah, I remember looking into it when it first came out, but I definitely haven't played it.
Oh, that's incredible. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Please share about this game, Lava, because this is a test of mental fortitude. This game just oh
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like some innocent, like really quick completion, but I think part of the reason I picked it up too, because well, I'm not a professional at golfing by any means. There's definitely much more qualified people to blitz through this game and to even play golf in real life. But I don't know what kind of appealed me to this game. I'm trying to dig back into my head, like where was Llama February of 2019 when I purchased this for, I think it was like $6 or $8. But if anybody hasn't played this game and you're listening to this right now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, what is this? This thing is really long winded. So you play through, you're obviously dogs golfing in a variety of environments, but there's so many levels to do. I think each hole that you play, and there's I think 8 holes in each world or set of something. I think you have to play over 100 matches for each world, and you need to do it like 20 times. So I think I played close to over 2,000, maybe even 3,000 different matches through this game as far as the golfing goes. This was one of those that I I had to break up into chunks. I'd have to listen to podcasts or to videos while doing it in the background. And one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was getting that. There's an achievement that you, or a trophy that you earn for going under par by a certain amount.
Yeah, under 40. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
20 worlds. Each of those worlds has, I want to say, at least 100 levels to it. No multiplayer, if I remember correctly. Long one.
Trophy grind aside, is it even fun? Like, is it even just a fun golf game to play?
If you go in with like, if you're a trophy hunter and you go in with the expectation of like, I'm gonna be playing this for a while, and you maybe restrict yourself to a world every week or something like that, I think you could get the most enjoyment. That would be like the optimal enjoyment out of it. It's definitely not one of those things that I enjoyed sitting there trying to grind out for hours. Even if I did like the base of the game, it wasn't something that held up for me personally. But I understand that there's some people that are just could sit there and do that for a while, and more power to them because some of the later missions can get especially diabolical with how the slopes are angled. So if you angle your shot wrong, your puck goes flying anywhere. I think it's you shoot a puck. It's not even a golf ball, from what I remember. So I don't know. Would you classify it then as golf, or would it be like a modified version of golf combining with field hockey or something?
I don't know, man. What kind of Happy Gilmore shit is that? Like,
Well, yeah, don't forget you are a dog swinging the club as well. But look, I mean, look,
That's
it's
very
it's an
true.
interesting premise. It's a physics e
Oh,
based
for sure.
arcade thing. But then, as you say, the slopes get interesting. Also, the wind picks up as well, so
Yeah,
it's a real frustration tester. And I think this is one of these games where the line between skill and bullshit is very narrow. I think
very.
I'm sure there are some skilled players here, but I think you'd rather be lucky in this game just to hit the thing at the right angle or whatever sometimes.
I remember a couple levels at the very end that I had a piece of paper and I was marking down every single angle that I had shot and like if it
Yes.
had failed or not from the very start. Because the only way that I for some reason in my mind the only way I worked it over was I have to get a hole in one on this or I'm not gonna be able to do this normally. And so
Yes.
I threw it away a long time ago, but there must have been like 100 angles or something written down. Like if I hit at this angle 51 degrees up in the air, it's gonna fly and it'll land. No, that didn't work. Okay, 52, 53. That's not something I would wish on anybody.
No, no.
I might have to call you and ask you to do the hole in one, the perfect game trophy in what's it called? Dream Daddy for me. We have to do 18 holes in one in a single game of mini golf. That trophy has no business being in that game.
Yes, I can imagine. I was like, I'm gonna have to break out the golf skills from Dogs Gone Golfing.
I mean, hey, you've got a better shot than I do at this point in time. I have a few more games I want to ask you about. Slime Son.
Ooh, okay. Definitely a game that I would recommend to anybody that enjoys a good platformer. This is one of those games that I'm surprised that many people have played it because I saw it on sale for cheap and it's on PS Now, so it's one of those games you could fully play through on PS Now. But Slime Sand, you play as like this little slime creature, and it's a platform adventure game. It's got a very beautiful kind of retro art style that's mixed in with it. And I guess you can make some comparisons between it and something like Super Meat Boy, because beyond finishing every single level of the world, some of the trophies in the game require you to basically do a speedrun version of each level and beat the trophy time, is what they call it. There's 3 pieces of fruit in each level that you have to get. It's really one of those platformers that the more repetitions you have on a particular level, you're just going to get it down and you're going to master it. I definitely don't think it's super difficult. I'm definitely not the most profound platform junkie in the entire world. And it took me some practice, but I definitely got it down by the end of it, and I really enjoyed the experience.
Is it like an insta-death platformer? Or is it a platformer like more like Mario where you get a couple, you get a couple tries?
Oh no, insta death, insta death. So like there'll be spikes and pits. I believe even the enemies can kill you in just one hit. Even the boss fights too, which makes trophies like the boss rush where you have to fight through all the boss. That took me like a couple hours to get down.
Oof.
But that's just one of those games, like, it has 245 game owners. That should be a crime. I think this game deserves more attention. And it was kind of weird because I'm only one of the 7 people that's ever platinumed it too. So hopefully by telling more people about it, it can get some more well-deserved attention.
Because it does look cute, but then I just look at the trophy list and I'm just like, ugh, maybe on an alt account, you know?
Yeah. I definitely think it's one of those things that is at least worthy of one playthrough. There's a lot of just fun things to do too. I mean, you have like a central hub, and you can go in and you can play arcade games, and you can customize the look of your slime, or you can try out everything. And each of the DLC expansions has been given to you for free, and they're included in the trophy list as well, which introduces some fun mechanics. So I don't think you could get bored because every couple levels or something that you get to contend with.
Mhm.
Mindy just brought up an interesting point here, Llama. Now, I'm not sure. Looking at your list here, you have some very hard games that you've finished. And, Mindy referred to the fact of playing it on an alt account. I don't get that feeling from
Mhm.
you, but do you research games? Are you concerned whether you can finish them or not? Or do you just persist until you do?
I used to be like that. I definitely know that there was some games that I was like, "That's too hard. I'm definitely never playing that." But I think even now, as I've been playing on this account and kind of progressing, and like you mentioned, I'll play maybe an easier title every once in a while, just to get my brain a break from the rigors of going for some of the rare platinums. But I definitely enjoy just jumping into a game and seeing what it has to offer.
Mm.
I'm not really one to worry about if it's unobtainable. It's sad if it's like something like The Crew, because I really enjoyed playing through that. I couldn't have expected that those 2 trophies were gonna glitch out on me. Do I regret playing it though? No, I really loved it, and I had a good group of people to play it with.
No, I have 2 more. Swords of Ditto, yes.
Okay, that was a nice, indie title. So Swords of Ditto was kind of like this game that combined the look and feel of, or not the look, the feel of maybe like classic Zelda, diving into a dungeon and you have a 2D plane and you're kind of working your way through it, but modernized. And I know they have a new update, so it was a lot harder before, because now they have an update. The whole central mechanic is when you get into the game and you pop into the world, you're a legendary hero that awakens in response to fight off this evil. And you have a very short, limited amount of time that you have to explore the world and grab items and other things before you are whisked away to face the final boss. And so when you're let go, you can go out and explore. You find dungeons, you can find some really cool items. For example, you have your standard stuff that's like a bow and arrow, bomb, but then you also have things like, I think there was a yo-yo that
Mhm.
you could use as a weapon, and then you could interact with different characters, and you would get these cards or these stamps that you could use throughout your adventure to give you like certain buffs and stuff as well. I think I liked that element. It was kind of like a roguelike in the way because all the dungeons are completely randomized. I think even the overworld is too, and so you never really know what you're gonna get. You'll start to see some patterns the more you play it, but it is one of those games that I think even like if you had kids and you wanted them to play something that was nice, you could just give that to them and they would have a blast with it. But I know it's significantly easier, at least now. I'm not sure because I haven't jumped back into it myself. But I think they have an infinite time mode now where you don't even have to worry about time running out while you're running around.
Seems like a kind of a roguelike grander scale version of Minute. Like, I kept thinking of Minute
Oh
while
yes,
you were talking about this, but Minute is not a roguelike.
no, that one's standard. You have items in the exact same places. This one is, there was some times where I would go in and I would get an item and I was like, how am I going to use that in the final fight? That is not going to be useful at all. And I just knew that I was screwed on that playthrough. But I think even with that mentality, I was still like, okay, I need to keep pressing on. Maybe I can unlock like an upgrade for the next run. I can do something past that as well. Maybe learn how to take on an enemy in a different manner using this item. So that way, by the end of the game, no matter what combination of items that I had, I was able to utilize it and to get farther than I was obviously at the beginning of playing the game. But that's just a fantastic game as well.
Last one, because I always see this on the sales, and every time I look at it and I seriously consider getting it, and I never ever do. And it's The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing.
Ooh, that's a great game. So are you a fan of like the Diablo series?
I've played some on PC back in the day, but I've never been like a massive Diablo person. I don't dislike it. It's just never quite been my jam.
Okay. What about you, CJ? Do you know about the Diablo series?
I do. I've played a little bit of this Van Helsing game. Well, let's be more frank. It's a co-op game. I was carried through the story of this game, and I was carried very quickly as I was with Diablo 3. So, to
Oh, I wish.
but look, it was yeah. Look, I like these type of games as well. So I'm interested. I mean, your depth of knowledge on this would be far greater than mine. So I am interested in your opinion here on how this holds up compared to Diablo.
I was looking for. I don't think Diablo was within my price range at that certain point in time when I had gotten this. Because if I'm looking at
Mm,
this is around a time frame where I had left a previous job in order to focus more on my studies at uni. So I was kind of in the intermediate period. I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I had some set aside to like fuel my gaming addiction. I guess that's how I could phrase that. And I had some that was set aside for like, okay, I need this much for gas. I need this much for money. I need this much for emergencies. This was one of the games that I bought on that kind of limited gaming fund.
mm,
And so you play as Van Helsing. He's a legendary monster hunter. And just like Diablo, this game revolves around kind of a looting system. So when you defeat enemies, they drop pieces of gear that you can equip and make yourself better. There's different classes, so you can kind of build your own character. I think one of the interesting things too, though, is tied to Van Helsing is a spirit, and I think Katarina was her name or something similar to that. You can upgrade her as well, and so you can put points into her. She has like her own special skill tree, so she'll help take out enemies, or she can help you in rejuvenating health and magic. So it was very intricate in that way, and obviously, I love horror, and so some classic monsters and kind of seeing all these different things as enemies in this game was a lot of fun as well. Definitely difficult though. I had to reset an entire playthrough while going through this. I think because I died on a hardcore mode right at the very end. If that was one of the trophies, I'm looking through it real quick again. I'm even wearing glasses and I can't see it. This isn't good. There was some game mode where you had to beat it. Yeah, finish the game with a hardcore character. I'm so hardcore. That was difficult. I died on the final boss because I didn't build my character correctly, which set me back a long time. And so that was a little frustrating. And the most grindy trophy, there's one trophy where you have to beat a certain amount of enemies, kill 50,000 enemies. And I had to stand there and grind in one particular spot. It's like in a spider cavern. You don't kill the boss, so all of his minions keep spawning over and over again. And you just sit there and do that for hours until you're done. But beyond that, I think if you're into Diablo and you're into kind of upgrading a character and finding new loot and everything, you would enjoy this. And I'm definitely picking up the other titles in this series too, so I can kind of get that full collection finished.
yeah, yeah. They are fun. I mean, they are co-op as well, aren't they? I'm definitely thinking of the right game here, aren't I?
I can't remember. It might be. I didn't have the luxury of that, so I was like, I'm just looks like I'm gonna be a solo llama on this one.
I like it. Now, look, we're going to move over to Mindy in a moment, but there's one other thing she's gone through. You're doing very well, sir. I'm impressed. You definitely are on the other side at the moment. So
Thank you.
you're doing very well. The other game that interests me here, predominantly because it was just scared the shit out of me, so I had to stop playing it. But it's also a game that it was not cheap when it came out, I know, and then it sort of got buried. And I think a little unfortunately, now I know it's not an easy horror game either, and this is the Remothered Tormented Fathers.
Oh yes.
So I imagine being a horror fan, you really enjoyed this. This is a very tense. Well, I found this a very tense game.
I had to stop playing it at first because first, second, I had in Remothered, the Torture Father, you obviously get chased by different enemies, and I think they call them like pursuers in the game. It might be similar to if
Hmm.
you've ever played Clock Tower series, they would call them the pursuers, and this kind of gave me the same vibes as that
Hmm.
whole series or genre there.
A nice shout out. I haven't heard Clock Tower since I brought it up way back when I played Nightcry.
Yeah, I've been really interested in those games, and I'm sad that I don't have, like, somewhere that I could play them. I mean, I guess I could pick up an old system and try and find them, but, um, in the same way, Remothered Torture Fathers and the sequel's coming out, which I was really happy about, to PlayStation, and I'm probably one of, like, the 12 people that was like, "Yeah, I played the first one all the way through on the PlayStation 4 when it came out," but this one was interesting because it takes not only into account, like, obviously, your enemies are gonna be roaming, but they can listen to sound. So if you are walking around and there's like some set like QTE moments where sound happens and you have to run away from it. If you're running too fast and there's several levels to the mansion that you're running through, the house that you're running through, they can spot you. I had one particular moment where I had to pause the game and walk away because I was creeping along a corridor and I heard a noise, and it was one of the guys, and I think he was like singing a lullaby or something, which obviously was already unnerving. But he came around the corner and I had a glass or something in my hand, and you can throw it at them to stun them for, like, a very short amount of time to make your escape. Well, in my panic, I threw it over his head,
Yes.
and he was right up in my face, and I paused, and I was like, "No, I need to stop because I just wasted an item," and I was like, "Well, I'm dead."
I find these games the Resident Evil 7 and things like this, they're definitely, they're horrific in
Mhm.
their own way. But this sort of, I mean, it's not survival, but this sort of tension, similar to, I mean, Outlast definitely, but Outlast 2 in particular, I find is very similar in this feel. It's just an oppressive feel, isn't it? And I,
Mhm.
I know Resident Evil creates that through its camera angles, the older games, and this sort of the presence always there. But these
Mhm.
games, and they move quickly in a very slow overall game, so those peak
Yeah.
points. And it was such a shame, this game, as you say, because when it launched it was not cheap at all, and it sort of did.
No, it's like $30, I
Yeah,
think,
it did get buried.
right?
And I mean, again, for what it is, I don't have a problem with that price either, but I think
Mhm.
it just, and unfortunately for trophy hunters, it was 100% list as well, so that probably didn't help. But yeah, that's interesting to see. It's a look,
Yeah.
Llama. It's a very good list, I must say. I'm quite impressed. If I was going to give you
I
any
appreciate
any
that.
tips, perhaps I see this division here at 48% or something. Oh no, it's even less.
Oh, yeah.
I think you should. No, sorry, not division. Destiny. Sorry. I think you should go back and do that. But look, I'm never going to do that, so I can understand why you choose not to. So go and play something else if you prefer, I suppose.
Yeah, I got a couple on my list that I'm, like, scoping out that I'm like, "Okay, I have to go back and do Path of Exile because that's another Diablo-like game that I really wanna play through." Binding of Isaac is something I'm slowly getting through. Definitely not good at it at any means by any means, but we'll get
Mm,
there.
mm. Listeners, this is dangerous. It seems like we've had two guests in a row now that align with Mindy's choices of games. This is not what I was anticipating. But look, let's let's move over to
And you're the
Mindy.
one who got this one on the podcast.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
tricked. We have another gamer, a skilled gamer. Listeners, this is disturbing.
Yeah, well, I mean,
They're on the increase.
if it's any consolation, Resident Evil is one of my favorite series of all time, so if that's something that you enjoy, we can definitely get along with that. Uh,
Perfect, perfect. So, Mindy, you said you wanted to throw out something.
Well, I played a couple of spam things just to because I signed up for that event I talked about last time,
Yes.
the Valentine's event, and I didn't want to let my partner down. But the only thing I've played this week, and it's not even on my profile, is the new Artifacts Monday game. I finally got the code. I got it late. It's called Uncharted Tides Port Royal. It's not bad. It feels, I don't know if it's actually longer, or if the fact that I've had a bad week just makes this feel like a much longer game. It's probably that. But it's your standard Artifacts Money Fair. You are playing as two different protagonists though, which is not common in an Artifacts Money game. You play as a sailor, like the daughter of this guy and that's the whole story, is that her dad's been missing for a long time, but suddenly one day she gets a note that she can track down her father, who was looking for a ghost ship called the Cursed Rose. And it's you versus some pirates. And then you also play as this thief named Jack. And at some point, they've just kind of teamed together in my playthrough, so I'm assuming the game is almost over.
And is it a pretty standard trophy list for Art Monday?
Yeah, I think this is another one that Artifacts Monday just published and did not develop. Yeah, so this is Cordelia Games, and they did what did they do? I think they did Dreamwalker as well, which came out. No, I'm wrong about that. They've done other Artifacts Money games. This is one of the easier trophy lists because you don't have to play on expert, and it's one of the ones where you don't have to always avoid the hint button or the skip button. You have to do 3 or 4 hidden object puzzles without using the hint button. The problem is that like 3/4 of the hidden object puzzles in this game, the game does not count as
Mhm.
hidden object puzzles. So you'll have these shorter ones where the things you need to find, you've got pictures of them, and you only have to find like 5
Yeah.
or 6. Those the game does not count as hidden object puzzles. What it counts is the ones with the actual word, the list of things to find. And there's only like 5 or 6 of those in the game. So that's a trophy you're going to get later in the game than you might think. But there is also a trophy for not for doing 3, 4, or 5 mini games without skipping, and you'll get that pretty early. So I think it'll be fairly quick. I am writing my walkthrough while I play this, so that should be up. I'm gonna try to get it up by the end of this weekend. Hopefully, it will be posted by the time this episode goes out.
Perfect. I imagine there'll be many people anticipating that walkthrough.
I was very sweet. Someone messaged me on PSN and asked if I was gonna do a walkthrough.
They're all waiting for their platinum, Mindy.
I'm waiting for the visits to my Kofi page. Hint nudge, hint nudge.
Yeah.
No, look, I don't blame you. You should ransom that thing off. I agree. I like it. So if there's nothing else there, Mindy, shall we move on?
Sure.
Yeah. So, look, listeners, I've just been playing as usual, just a little bit of everything. I'm just going to throw some love on some things that will probably get buried on the store as well today, seeing that seems to be the topic of the week. And I'll start with the racing game, Tony Stewart's Sprint Car Racing. So, as I alluded to last time, it is made by the same people that have been making these yearly NASCAR games. It's basically lifted the sprint car elements, the dirt racing, out of those games in this sequel. The game plays, other than that, plays the same if you're used to that in career progression or whatever. This game, look, it's polished. I was quite impressed for what it is. Obviously, the trophy list is also the same as the NASCAR game, so it is incredibly grindy, winning the 200 races. It is a lot easier though. This one, there are no challenges, or there are actually challenges in the game, but no trophy tied in challenges. Look, if you don't like sprint car racing, you're not going to like it. But as a kid, I grew up. We used to go to the track once a month here in Sydney when it still existed out in the West, and I used to love it. And so it brings back fun memories for me. And there is, I mean, I know some people will argue there's very little skill in this type of racing, but there is a lot when you get the car. To drift the corner at the right angles. And of course, they're all short oval tracks. You can basically drift the whole way around. So it's fun, but not challenging. And then Mindy, I haven't played enough of it yet, but I'd never and Llama, I've never played Bayonetta before. So I thought, why not?
Ooh, that's a good game.
Seems like the right time. Yeah, and I had no idea it was gonna be like it was. It feels like it's gonna be fantastic. I don't want to misspeak here, but I get these Devil May Cry vibes from it already in the first two chapters. So look, I don't need to tell you listeners, I'm sure you've played it.
It's actually kind of funny you say that because I think
Mm.
there's actually a rivalry between people who like Devil May Cry and people who like Bayonetta.
Yeah, I'm always like, there's a little bit of language dropped in the beginning, which is fine or whatever, but I'm always surprised with these older games that I don't know, that it just sort of shocks me, this sort of thing, and how, I mean, it's ultra violent as well, obviously, in that style, but yeah, I'm impressed. So I understand it's a very hard plat. Look, I don't know, it doesn't concern me, but that could be a concern for you listeners. Just two more and we'll move on very quickly. The Granblue Fantasy Versus. I'll throw this some love because it's not out yet in the NA or EU. That comes out in a couple of weeks in early March. Look, it is a very good fighting slash RPG game. Yes, I'm going to definitely call it RPG. It has all the elements of an RPG. It has a quest system, an inventory system, an upgrade system, and an XP system for yourself. One of the cool things is that you can play local or online co-op basically from the second chapter through the whole game. So you have that side of the game, but then you also have the traditional fighting side as well, where you can just do your verses or your online matches. It's really beautiful game. It's fully voiced in Japanese with subtitles. though, if you're that way inclined. And as I said, it will be localized in a couple of weeks. I think this is a good anime fighter. And look, I have no interest in this anime myself, but I'm still enjoying the story. There's a lot of depth here. It's not superficial or artificial. And then because we touched on horror today, I didn't realize we were going to do that. I played this Nerved. I don't know. Have you come across this, Mindy?
No, no, I have not come across it.
So this you might be familiar with this studio. These are the people that did that drawing or dreaming canvas game. It was a very short little game. They also did Jigsaw Solace, which was the just the jigsaw puzzler, I suppose. So this is a big step up for them from those two games. This is a walking sim, I suppose, with horror elements. There are a few roaming enemies, jump scare enemies or whatever else. It's look, I don't think it's fair to and I know there are many people that have come out and said what an amazing achievement this game is. Look, it is good, but there are still flaws in this game. Like I got stuck in the door multiple times, probably took 20 minutes to get out in various save and reloads. And I think it's awesome that these studios are developing and pushing their boundaries. But I think things like this, they need to be addressed, especially when you're charging $10 US on the store. And I know the EU version is coming out very soon. And look, I'll probably do it as well because it is an easy trophy list. And aside from that, it was actually quite good. And the story, but that would be the only preference I would give listeners. And look, I know when you play these indie games, you're always scared of the doorways because there's a huge chance you're going to get trapped in them.
Oh,
But
yeah.
be careful of the doors in this game. It was only in one particular section that I had, but I had it numerous times, so I have a feeling it may be an inherent feature. But other than that, it was quite good. So look, I think that's all that I have for you this week, listeners. It's been a big week for everyone, I think. So I think that's enough. But Llama, we're starting to move into the time where games are starting to come out. Not AAA games. I mean, they're all being pushed to the launch of the PS5.
No, of course, yeah.
But but
Sadly,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Well, Sony have to do something to compensate for Microsoft's action.
Quick thing, CJ, I just wanted to congratulate you. You platinumed AI the Somnium Files.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Mindy. A
Ooh,
fantastic game.
You stuck with
round
it.
of applause.
Yeah, look, I did. I think the clock for me came in around 30 hours. So in hindsight, I think you could do it in a lot less, and still get a lot out of the game. As I said when I first started it, there is a wonderful guide that looks really confusing when you first start. But if you play through it, because it really doesn't matter what ending you get, if you just play through it naturally, the guide will actually make a lot more sense. And I didn't realize how quick the cleanup was. I think you play through it twice in effect to open the two branching parts, and the cleanup. And I was missing a few things. Probably takes less than 10 minutes. So yeah, I think if you go in knowing that it's a very quick cleanup. So I definitely wouldn't even bother with the guide at all until you've played both branching parts. But yeah, look, Mindy, I would recommend it for you. I think you're going to really enjoy it.
Oh no, it's on my list. I have a couple of things I need to play first, but it's definitely on the short list.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, the humor in this is fantastic. Like, I mean, sometimes some things are lost in translation with localization, but if that has been the case here, it's only magnified it. And I mean, there's definitely some inappropriate, younger sexual jokes and things like that in that the Japanese love to, flirt with and stuff. But that aside, there's some fantastic humor, and the story is for a VN. I mentioned before too, when you have your split paths in a VN, they often come back to the sort of same thing at the end. This sort of Telltale-esque feature. This game really doesn't, and it left me thinking, well, if I had have gone down the other path, because you don't really decide early on, it just happens which way you go. I wonder if that would have totally changed my experience, because it seemed like the other path held a lot more of the actual real ending, if you like. But then I wonder, I think a lot of that is tied up in the fact that you knew how the other side went. So look, I definitely think it is worth your time, listeners, if you are interested. Look, it's not a skipping VN though, because of the way the puzzles work. So take it for what it is, I suppose. But thank you for detracting from the new releases, Mindy. But we're going to get there now, I feel. So, Llama, let's start with
Mama, do you see what I put up with every week? Do you see what I put up with?
Oh. Well, look, I have a question about this later, Mindy. So let's just wait till we get there. For Llama.
Uh-oh.
So, yes, you've opened the door
Yeah.
early there.
Whoa.
So, Llama, let's throw something out. What are you liking the look of for this week?
So for this week, there was two games that really kind of stuck out to me. Maybe because of previous experience. Well, at least one of them has to do with one of the previous experiences that I've had in my past with gaming that I really enjoyed. And this game is called Blood Roots. Now, Blood Roots is going to be a digital release on February 28th. It's giving me kind of a Hotline Miami vibe. I'm not sure if that resonates with any of the viewers or even with you, CJ or Mindy, but it definitely gave me some Hotline Miami vibes. This game is a top down action indie title, and it's kind of set in the Wild West. It has some gorgeous cartoon graphics. And when I looked it up on Steam, the little description that I was given was the world is your weapon, which is not a statement that is without grounds for this game, because when I was watching through a small little demo, you basically run through and each of your weapons and items have limited uses, but you can literally use every single little thing in the level that is given to you. So even in the first level that I watched from the demo, he was riding a barrel and he was running over enemies using that. He was using swords and axes. I think he even smacked someone in the face with a ladder, which I was pretty like, whoa, okay. And that was just in the first level alone. Even in the second level, there was more things that he was able to use. But it's kind of this fast and frenetic score-based gameplay. So you can run through the levels, and the quicker that you either eliminate all the enemies or depending on the amount of items that you use, you can get a score. So, and something that might be addicting, I know for me personally, is when your game gives you the scores and you feel like you have to get an S rank on every single level. This is the exact same case. And when I looked it up, it's from a relatively new developer too. So it's really cool to see them kind of taking charge and setting out this new idea. Cause I don't think I've ever seen a game where it was like literally you could use every single little thing in your environment to your advantage. And the other one that kind of caught my eye a little bit, and this is probably because not only is my community called the Coffee Cove, but I'm a huge coffee drinker myself. Coffee Crisis. Now, this title is already available on Switch, but it is a heavy metal. Take care to listen to this heavy metal infused brawler where you play as baristas to fend off an alien assault. Now, if that's not the most brilliant punchline for a game that I've ever heard in my life, apparently I don't know what a good punchline is, because that interests me. So this has like a retro pixel look to it. Uh, Recent reports that I've seen were it was on the eShop for Nintendo systems, the Switch for $2. So I don't think it'll be much more expensive here on the PlayStation. And
You'd be surprised.
yeah, that
You would
is
be
true.
surprised.
If it is more expensive, I never said that, and we're just gonna skip over that. So, either way, there are some modifiers that you can integrate into the game. I don't know. When I was watching somebody do a review of this, he was talking about the modifiers and he was speculating on whether or not he could turn them off. I don't actually think I saw him turn them off, so I think they might be built in. But it's definitely a difficult brawler. But if you're something of a fan of something like Streets of Rage, this might be particularly appealing to you. Or maybe if you just want to smack around aliens as a barista, I'm not sure. Maybe that's someone's thing.
Now, is there a mod that you can make the aliens all like soccer moms who want their, frou-frou skinny frappuccinos that
Hmm.
take 40 minutes to make?
That might be a DLC expansion. You never know.
It should be. I know many people who would pay good money for that, for sure.
I just remembered there might be some soccer moms to smack around in this game, and that sounds terrible on its own. But the aliens can take the form of humans, and so I know in like the demo, this guy was getting beat up by elderly people that were taken over by the aliens. So you never know. Maybe that's one of the plugs that they put into this game.
Just thinking, I don't want to deviate into it here, Llama, but for your love of coffee, there was a game that came out a week or two ago, Coffee Talk. I don't know. It might be a little too slow paced for you. It's a VNS style game, but I think perhaps you would love it because you can do the
Oh,
latte art and it's very relaxing, all set.
that's one of those games while I was going through Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion during that stream. Someone pointed that out to me, and I told them. And since I've given my word, I'm obviously going to keep it, and it interests me. I'm going to get that game. And we're going to play it on stream.
Oh, fantastic!
So
You'll enjoy it. Yeah. And
yeah,
Mindy,
I
is
can't wait.
is there something you'd like to throw out here?
Yeah, I got two here. First one is Hero Must Die Again. I like the concept of this game. So it's basically in the marketing they call it the anti RPG. Basically, you are the hero of an RPG. You have defeated the grand boss and saved the world, but the boss killed you in the during that final battle. So, but because you did this amazing thing and saved the world. The gods have given you a life extension. You get 5 days. And it's not like 5 days to find, a way to come back to life. It's literally 5 days to put together like the most bawling funeral you can. The reason they keep calling this an anti-RPG and all the marketing is because as time passes, your character actually gets weaker.
That's an interesting twist.
So it's an interesting concept. I don't know. I think I might jump on like a stream or something and see how it goes.
And should we trade ones?
Yeah, well, this next one's really quick. I will just mention that the Mega Man Zero/ZX Legacy Collection is coming out, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is so I can sneak in a question to Llama as to what his feelings are on Mega Man. See, CGI lured you into a false sense of security. I did the Metroidvania question, and you thought, "Oh, okay, she's done for the week."
Yeah, no, that caught me off guard a little bit. I didn't think about that. Okay. I don't know. I've played a couple of them. I've played a couple of the older ones, like Mega Man 4 and 5. I think I've played a little bit. I know that Mega Man 9 and 10 are available on PS4, and I've always thought about picking those up and trying them out. When I was younger, I had a couple of the titles that were maybe for like the Game Boy Advance, or I think I had one for like the DS one that was pretty big, and I enjoyed them. So these ZX titles look pretty interesting. I would be interested in knowing though, is it more worth it to get the ZX titles, or is it more worth it to get the other ones, the other collections that I can't think of off the top of my head?
If I had to recommend one, I would recommend the X collection, not the ZX, the X collection.
Okay.
I just think those games are better. I will say that Z is around the time I kind of stopped playing every Mega Man game that came out. So I haven't played all of them. So maybe there's some very, very, very good ones. I don't know. But my personal recommendation would be in terms of kind of gameplay quality of life and, just still being solid and fun, I would say the X collection. The All of the original games, like you can buy the Legacy collection, but also the all of the Japanese ones are on without trophies. So if you're worried about the trophies, unless they've removed those since the Legacy collections came out, you could buy them. They were considered like the, PS1 classics or the classic line or something like that. Translation, Nintendo owned the rights to the English translation of these games. So when you play it, the text is in Japanese, but I mean, you don't really need it. It's pretty evident what you need to do and how everything works. So that's an option if you
Mm.
don't, because the legacy lists are not great. They're not fun lists. It's a lot of kind of challenge mode stuff. Maybe you'd like that. If you're worried about trophies, go with the individual purchases instead. If they're still up on the store.
I'd have to take a look into that because that sounds just like a good challenge. I mean, even the legacy collections, I've seen those, and I was like, this might be something good to play, like, after maybe one or two of the more grindy games that I have on my list that I'm still working through. Like, I don't know whenever I'm gonna finish Bomberman R, but Lord willing, I'll be done with that soon because that's taking up all my grinding time at the moment, and it's it's a little life sucking. I'm fine because I can listen to YouTube videos and stuff like I've talked about doing for previous grinds, but that's too much.
I like that.
My definition of grind has changed since I played Lego Worlds
Oh, I think
and
that's a
Friday the
yeah.
13th. I have seen some things.
Oh, my heart goes out to you with the Friday the 13th because that's one of them that I'm like, can I find anybody crazy enough to want to grind that out with me uh, in the future? And the answer will probably most likely be no, unless that
I don't
person
know, you seem like a
doesn't.
knife enough guy. I can help you for a bit.
Sweet.
Not for 1,000 hours though.
Even if it's just 100 hours, that's a tenth out of the way. So
Oh,
that's all I
small
need.
steps.
That means I'm getting closer to the club, right?
You are getting that's a big power move to get into the club.
Sweet. Okay.
No, they'll just open the door a little. That's what they're like. So you get a taste,
Okay.
and they'll
So
shut
what you're saying is I have to finish Bomberman R,
it.
and that'll get me all the way in there
Good luck.
because that grind's disgusting.
Good,
Yeah.
good luck with that. So, look, listeners, I'll just throw out one or two here. There's a game here, Infliction, extended cut coming. This is interesting because it's by an Australian developer. We don't have too many of those left in Caustic Reality, and it's being co-published by Blowfish Games. So, you may be familiar with Blowfish Games, Mindy. They've done a few titles, including the Siegecraft Commander from a while ago. They did Storm Boy as well. And they also did, I don't know if you played this one, Mindy. I think it's up your alley, a platformer, the Whipsy and the Lost Atlas.
Oh yeah, that's on my list too. Not my short list, but on my list.
Yeah, so their next game is coming in the next week. If you're in Sydney, the developers are actually they're over in PAX, but part of the studio is actually doing a free panel as well with a few of the game devs that are still left in Australia, talking about actually, Mindy, it's quite fascinating. They're going to be talking about the role of multiculturalism in gaming studios and also the equality balance between male and female in the industry in Australia. So that's quite interesting. That's on a Thursday, which probably doesn't affect most of the other listeners around the world. But if you are around in Sydney, that could be something interesting to check out because this doesn't happen here, unfortunately, very often. I'll also throw out we've got 2 Point Hospital coming, obviously from the PC, finally making its way over to PS4. This game is supposed to be an exceptionally fun simulator, highly cartoony and arcadey, I think, as well. So look, that looks fantastic. And then the only other one I wanted to throw out, Mindy, and this is cheating a little bit because it did technically come out in the last week, but again, it's possibly one that will not come out to a lot of fanfare, is a game by Red Thread Games. This is a Norwegian studio, so excuse me, listeners, here as I absolutely butcher the pronunciation of this game. Draugen. I'm going to say Draugen. Not in a position yet to.
Oh, I saw that. I was gonna call it Dragon.
It could
I
be.
wasn't gonna try.
It could be. So look, there are a few games that I found exceptional in
Oh! Oh, sorry, I just realized what game this was. I've been looking forward to this because these are the guys who did
chapters. Yes,
Dreamfall and, Longest Journey.
that's correct. Yeah.
They make some really good kinda long form adventure games.
Yes, yeah. I'm not sure that this is so long. I think it sits at around the 6 to 8 hour mark, potentially a little bit less. But there are a few games, as I was saying, that when you start, you just feel something special, like Edith Finch, perhaps even Firewatch, to a degree. And this one, when it started, I played maybe 15 minutes so far. And the music is fantastic. It looks great, and right from the beginning, it sucks you in. Obviously, if you don't have the tolerance for a walking sim, which is what this is perhaps not for you. But if you're interested in these things, this I'll talk more next week after I finished it. But I think exceptional. It looks exceptional at this point to start. So why don't we leave the games now? We've made our guests suffer long enough. Why don't we why don't we move over to actually finding a little bit more about you and what you're doing, Llama? Now, what I wanted to do, if it's okay with you, just to start with, is just get like the genesis for why you did this, because I hear a lot of people, they want to create something, they want to do something, they want to put good into the world and positivity.
Mhm.
There's a lot of talk and not much action. So what was the genesis of you starting? Like what sort of, is it something you always wanted to do, or was it just one day you're like, I want to start this? Or how did it come about?
Well, for a while before I started with this YouTube channel, I don't know, because I made a lot of videos when I was younger, but they weren't. Nobody can find those things. Don't worry, I've searched high and low to erase every trace of those old Minecraft videos and stuff like that when I was much younger. But for a while, I used to be a Twitch streamer, and at that point, I still enjoyed playing games. I enjoyed being able to share some of the gameplay experiences and everything like that. But one of the things that I got really attached to watching in YouTube was trophy reviews. And so this is from people like Stay Patient. He did trophy reviews for people, and he would talk about trophies a lot on his own channel. Sadly, he doesn't do that anymore, but still, I would love listening to those things. King Super One did a lot of trophy review videos that were kind of long term, and I really enjoyed the perspective of that. However, I know one of the things that had caught me kind of off guard, especially with some of the other people that do trophy reviews, was, and this isn't in any way to like badmouth the reviews because I still find them entertaining and I still find them very useful as far as giving information to the person. But I was noticing that sometimes language would come into play. I'm not much of a, I don't like to use language. Obviously, in my reviews, I keep that non-existent. And I really enjoy encouraging people. And I hadn't seen that spin so much as like an overall theme within the reviews.
Mm.
So that kind of propelled my interest in doing that for some people. And I didn't really start doing the reviews until tail end of last year because I had posted, I think, one review and then looking at my own trophy account before I left for a summer job. And when I came back, I was like, okay, how do I want to take this forward? And I didn't have a video editing experience, or if I did, it was very limited. And I wasn't extremely comfortable with talking for extremely long portions of time about something just in general. So it's been a little bit of a learning experience to get to that point. But I think what I was really noticing was like, hey, I want to bring people together on this platform, whether it be YouTube or, if I even get people coming over from Twitch from where I used to do my old streams. I think there's just something that's really awesome. I know looking at the YouTube videos for the other people that were making trophy reviews and seeing people interact and talk about games that they were doing and encourage each other, or even being on the forums for PSN profiles and seeing like positive examples of people encouraging each other in that was something that I just wanted to create and to hone into a community. And so when I started making these reviews, that was the main thing that I wanted to focus on. I mean, obviously, some people are going to play, for example, easier games in comparison with somebody that has a lot of difficult games played. But I don't think it's necessarily right to say, like, hey, you're not a true gamer or you're not a true trophy hunter just because they play those types of games. I mean, you don't know their situation. You don't know how much time they have allocated to play each week, or maybe they can't afford some of the other games as well. And so what I really wanted to do with those reviews was to bring attention to every single type of account, make sure that everybody feels included, make sure that everybody feels uplifted in that. And that's something that I hope to do for years to come.
Yeah, that's very, very well put. One of the things that interests me in you, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, is that I think online trust is a massive thing, and I think honesty is
Definitely.
also very important. And I think that it becomes more obvious over time whether the person you're listening to and stuff like that is really being honest and is really comfortable in what they're saying. And from what I've watched of your reviews and looking at your community as well on Discord, you're definitely pushing that vibe, and I like that. I feel comfortable
I
that.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel comfortable that's where you are. But what I want to ask then, because on the flip side, gaming there's can be very toxic elements to gaming as well.
Mhm.
So how do you? And you're an incredibly positive person. I can hear this today. I've seen this in your things. Do you ever like? Does that affect you at all, or do you just rise above that?
Well, I'm not perfect. I'm a person as well. And so sometimes if I'm playing a game or if I'm spending way too long trying to grind out some dumb trophy, it definitely can get to me. I can get a little angry. But then that's usually when I know that I just need to take a step back. I need to remember, especially like if I'm dealing with something that's going on in the community. For example, when I did the previous review, there was somebody that had an issue, or the community that I had built had been looking into the account and they found the guy had unlocked some trophies or cheated or something like that. And I wanted to make sure that even in the midst of that situation, and this goes double for when I'm playing online as well, the most important thing that I want to communicate is not only a sense of respect, because you never know the situation that's around that, but also positivity. For example, I'm not going to call somebody out because of that, because I think that could be very dangerous. And especially if I'm raising a positive community, that sounds like I'm a parent, but if I'm building this positive community, I want to make sure that everybody feels safe and they feel like that sense of respect as well. And so, even as you said, like when I'm playing online and some things can get quite toxic, I either usually take that as a sign to take a step back and just reevaluate the situation. Potentially, maybe just don't play the multiplayer anymore. For example, if it's a multiplayer game with a lot of toxic people, I know it's time for me to move on. Or I just surround myself with people that are positive and people that are there to have a good time. Because trust me, I'd rather have a group online where we all are terrible at the game, but we're laughing and being positive and being encouraged by every little improvement, than playing with a group that is so serious that when something happens that's kind of ugly, it can spiral out of control. And I understand as a person, we're going to have those moments, good and bad, but I'm not going to let the bad moments rule my behavior and try to come back from that and step above that.
Yeah, I like that. Now, I promise this will be the only philosophy question I ask you today, non-gaming related.
Okay.
Do
No
you,
worries.
and feel free not to answer this if you prefer, do you believe happiness is just a state of mind, a choice, or not? Do you feel like you just can choose to be happy?
I think maybe not. There's some elements of it that could be interesting, like towards looking at I choose to be happy because I like to be positive and I like to be happy and I like the way that when I'm happy and positive, I can form really strong relationships with the people around me. But I can certainly understand that in some situations too, it's just going to be harder to be happy. And you might not necessarily be able to completely be happy 100% of the time. That's not a choice that's available to you. I think what counts though is you take on those moments where you're feeling low or where you're feeling like something's just completely negative in your life. And then after getting out of that, not only can you look back and be like, okay, well, for example, what's one positive thing that happened during that time? Even if everything else was terrible, what's one positive thing that happened that time during that time? And then you look into the future. How am I going to be continuously positive going out past that? And I guess that also like is applicable to my YouTube stuff. Yeah, there was a review that there's some questions that need to be asked, and I just need to take a step back from that. I need to reevaluate maybe some of the criteria that I have for just reviewing, but I also need to stand strong and keep my community together, and encourage people and just let them know, like, this is going to happen. It's okay. We move on and we look forward and we continue growing positive from there. But I definitely think it depends on the type of person that you are. I would like to think that I'm 100% positive all the time,
Mm.
and that might be possible. But I know that sometimes there's also I got to choose to be sad to be even happier after that point of time.
Will you be my life coach?
Yes.
I think you're wise beyond your years. So I'm impressed. So look, let's deviate back to the gaming. And you opened up the process here. So I'd like to talk a little about your process. Like I imagine there's some research that goes in once you have the profile, you know that you're going to be reviewing. Could
Mm.
you talk to that process a little bit?
Of course. So one of the things that I do, because I'm pretty open with who I give reviews to, in my videos, all I suggest is if you want to review, just put your name down below and I'll take a look at it. It doesn't matter how many games you have. I think that was one thing that was super important too when I was starting out and wanted to make sure everybody felt invited and that they felt that they could be a part of the community. Because I know some people were like, well, my account's really small, so I don't think you're gonna be able to have like a super long video out of that. I said, no worries, and what I ended up doing instead is I would just film smaller reviews, patch them together, and have one longer review video length of just several accounts. But when I'm given an account, one of the first things that I do, and I know if you've listened to the podcast, you know that I do like the beginning little facts and everything. So this is like, this is their first trophy, this is their first
Mm.
platinum, this is their last trophy, this is their latest platinum, and then I recently added the 100%. So that's one thing that I instantly look for. One of the things that I added due to experience was making sure that either I could communicate and ask the person what their time zone is, or trying to just guess it based off of what I can see on their PSN profile page. And that way, when I look at their statistics page, I can get an accurate understanding of, well, relative to my time zone, this is the time of the day that they usually play. Um, if there's a game that I don't necessarily have an understanding of and it's before the review and it's something that I've noticed, because I don't like to go through the whole account because I want some stuff to be surprising and I want my reactions to be genuine to when I see something like, oh, this person has 100%ed Super Meat Boy. And that's granted if they don't have it in their trophy cabinet right next to the side. But just to be genuine in that process. Uh, but if there's a game that I don't know, I like to look into it. I like to get a little bit of background so I could talk a little bit about it. And I also recognize that there's going to be some games that I'm going to be going through. I'm not going to have much to speak on it about, and I'll just write it down on the side. And then usually Um, Either a member of my community after a review is done will point out a trophy that was unobtainable. I usually write that down. And so that way, if I run into the same game in subsequent reviews, I can make a quick note of that. And I think that's also why I started doing the trophy tips at the top, so I can incorporate things like that. So it's just a constant learning experience. But I think before going into review, looking at the account, looking at some of those general statistics and facts that I could get collected, or reaching out to the person and saying, "Hey, is there something interesting that you would want to say about your account?" That is something that just gets coalesced into the finished product at the end.
Yeah, I like that. I know when we were conversing, a few weeks ago or something, I mentioned that you must be learning a lot about games, but perhaps games that you haven't
Oh,
played as well because of this. And
for sure.
yeah, like I'm a big advocate. Like look, I'm trying to, maybe trying to play everything, which is not really working at this point. But
Mhm.
you get I get a sense for a lot of things. But I spend a lot of time also researching games, and from doing this, you cover a lot of stuff. And having Mindy, I mean, her knowledge is extensive also in areas where mine is non-existent, so
Mhm.
we work quite well together. But for you, this is what interests me. You're a one-man team in effect, so how does how like I mean, because you're
Well, I mean, 2 if you count the coffee.
yes.
Yes, that's what keeps me going every day.
Yeah, but like I mean, some of your reviews, as you said, are shorter, but you have some very substantial reviews. 2 hours, an hour and a half, over 2 hours. This sort of
Oh boy,
length.
yeah.
So that must take a I mean, you must be really, really, learning a lot about these games because no one can play everything. So,
Oh yeah.
do you enjoy I think what I'm driving at is, are you enjoying that side of it a lot more than you expected to? Or is that work to find out about these things?
Like learning about everything.
Yeah.
I I actually really enjoy it. For me, I know there's been a couple reviews where when I'm going through and I either before the review see a game that I don't know or see it afterwards, that's how I can say, wow, that might be a good game for me to pick up in the future to play between some of these other ones. So not only do I get kind of the learning experience of what are some of these titles that I could play, and as you said, my schedule does not allow for me to play every single title that
No.
comes out as much as I would like it to. And obviously, I'm gonna save time for really, like, games that I'm looking forward to, like Resident Evil 3 or, something like that, but I just really enjoy having that sense of, okay, for example, with the Assassin's Creed games, now I know Assassin's Creed 3 has a couple trophies that I'm just not gonna be able to ignore in each review because I wanna make sure that everybody knows that this one is unobtainable, but that also helps me, because if I'm going through something and I notice that something's unobtainable, that gives me a signal in my head like, okay, I want to start a new game, but maybe I should stay away from this one because it's unobtainable, and I don't want to go for that.
Yes.
And obviously, if it's still like a once in a lifetime experience, I can overlook that, and I'm just gonna go play it anyways. But I think it's kind of like this weird give and take because being a trophy hunter, but also being a content creator has this weird. I don't know. It's almost like a seesaw. Yeah, I kind of go up and I feel like I learn everything, and then it shifts as the amount of knowledge is much greater than I could have ever imagined gaining. So it's constantly going back and forth.
On the flip side now, what do you think the people that submit their profiles for consideration, what do you think they're looking to get out of it?
Well, I would hope that they would be looking to get out some sort of just positive praise for their account because I know it's not very fun sometimes to feel like, oh, well, my account, what can I do to spice it up? But my my hope is with the reviews that I do, if I can just point out some game that somebody took the time to play, put effort into getting 100% of the trophies, and let them know they're awesome because they did that, and that makes a positive impact on the rest of their day. I've already done my job for that review as far as I'm concerned. But also, sometimes I know that some people have larger backlogs and they
Mm.
are interested in seeing maybe what someone else's opinion is, like maybe what they should go for. And I'm by no means like the be all end all. If I say something, you have to go and do that afterwards, because that is not my position at all. And I make that clear at the end of the reviews too. I say if it's just a suggestion, I want you to take it as it is. If you have time and you really want to enjoy doing that, go ahead and do it. I'm sure that you're going to be amazing at it. But I think maybe just the positive element and also getting just a little bit of feedback. If I can be helpful on at least like one part of the review, I think it's worth it to record it.
Yeah, no, I understand. And then I don't want to hog the floor here, Mindy. So please jump in whenever you like. I was gonna ask now. I know your position on this already, but before I heard about you or whatever else, I assumed that you were probably doing trophy roasts because that was what I was familiar with. You know, for better or worse, in this sort of a genre. I'm sure you know about this sort of stuff as well.
Hmm.
So you know, look, and I'm not opposed to a roast. Like I love Joan Rivers. You know, her
Hmm.
show was fantastic or whatever, but it requires a lot of trust on both sides, I think, and also understanding and a lot of intelligence, which you
Hmm.
obviously have. But
No, thank
that
you.
that's not something you want to pursue, though, is it? That's
No.
something separate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't see that for my community. And like I said, I have no problem against the people that do that, because I understand that they have a very essential bond and trust with the people that they're reviewing to be able to do something like that. But that actually makes me really uncomfortable. Like I'm fine watching other people roast other people, but if I'm specifically going to try and roast somebody, I'm terrible. Like I can't. It makes me feel guilty. I feel uncomfortable. That's just not something that I feel like I could. If I were to do roasting, I don't think I could put in as much helpful information at all because I would be constantly be like stepping back. Like if I roast somebody, I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean that, but also I did because this is the video for roasting you, and it just wouldn't work. It would just be really awkward. I don't think somebody would want to sit there for an hour and a half watching me stumble over trying to roast one simple person over something.
yeah, no, I understand. And then can we just touch on so then your I don't want to call it a spin-off, your secondary project, or although they're under the same umbrella, I suppose, is the
Mhm.
Coffee Cove, which is more of a conversational piece.
Oh, the conversations over coffee?
Yeah, sorry, conversations. Yes.
No, you're good. Everything's coffee based, so it all kind of just gets mixed up at some point, even to me. Uh, but conversations over coffee,
Drink more coffee.
yes. Actually, mine has gone cold now, so that's a little bit sad, but I'll get some more later. But the conversations over coffee, intended it to be more of like a just a platform for me to discuss whether it be new releases or to be specific pieces of news that were going on. And for me, not only is that just a way that I can share even more information or share a little bit about myself as well, because when I do the reviews, I might talk a little bit about some of the things that I've done at the beginning and specifically the updates. But when I do the review, I want it to be focused on praising and giving positivity to the person that I'm reviewing. So the conversation stove for coffee kind of works double over time in the fact that I can share other information that I find really interesting related to PlayStation or share a little bit about myself. Because I know the first one was kind of sharing a little bit about some of the games that I was really looking forward to. And I have one as a little bit sneak peek that I'm going to be talking about some of the delays and some of the reasons, although it might be disappointing to have those delays happen. So, what are some of like the positive takeaways that I see in that, as well as the ones that I'm really looking forward to? So in that, I'll also get to talk a little bit about like Hollow Knight Silk Song, which is one that I'm really looking forward to. And hopefully, if people enjoy that too, that would also open the door for me to do like longer videos, but specifically focused on a game that I can share. Like, I really liked this about that. But the conversations over coffees is more of a platform away from the reviews for me to speak about other things that I find interesting.
So here's what I like about you. I CJ kind of brought up the roasting, which is where I was going to go. Because it really is a thin
Mhm.
line. You know, roasting, yeah, you sit there and you insult someone for a bit, but it is done out of love. And if you watch the old like Dean Martin roast or the more modern Comedy Central roast, I don't know if they air
Mhm.
where CJ is or whatever. I've probably seen them before, but that's a nuance, and it's not really a nuance. Like it's a huge part of roast is obviously it's out of love and respect.
Mhm.
But I feel like a lot of these roasting channels, whether it's I don't watch a lot of trophy roasting. I have seen it was more like people roasting let's plays or just that kind of gaming
Mhm.
content where they didn't seem to get that, and so it was just bullying or just mocking people.
And I think that you hit it right on the nail. That's why when I started the channel, I was like, I'm not doing that because there is that fine line. Like, how do I know when enough is enough? Because I'm not the other person. So
Mhm.
even if it's something that's friendly and is done in love, Well, they're not gonna know that. I'm just starting out as a channel. I'm not gonna have connected relationships with all these people that I'm reviewing. And like I said, I would be practically useless trying to roast somebody because that's just not who I am, and I feel guilty doing so.
And I mean, it's not bad that you feel guilty. I mean, I know people that, if they were ever, famous and had a roast thrown for them, I would absolutely throw the roast, but I'd feel uncomfortable doing it. But,
Hmm.
they're my good friend and I love them and I know they would know that it was all done in jest. But yeah, it's sometimes some things just, you're not comfortable with it and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
My other thing is that yours is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 100% voluntary. People come to you and say, "Hey, would you review my trophy profile?"
Oh, for sure.
Because that's another thing with the trophy, and maybe some of these channels do. I admit to not, really looking at them. But the time period I was familiar with where people were roasting Let's Players and stuff, these Let's Players were not going to these roasters and saying, roast my, or, insult, but roast my channel. They would find these
Yeah.
videos, and then it's just guys just sitting there laughing and making fun of what these people put out. And it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. If the
Hmm.
gameplay is good or bad, you can tell when something is a genuine effort versus when something is just kind of cynically put out there just for the attention of it all.
Hmm.
I like that you're not doing that. It's refreshing because, like CJ said, gaming communities can be very toxic. There's always the debate in specifically the trophy hunting circles, like, oh, are you a real trophy hunter if all you're playing is Radalika or things like that, or you're not, you're not a real gamer unless you're playing Souls likes.
Yeah. I don't know that's depressing because I think oftentimes, and I'm not definitely not speaking for anybody that does that sort of stuff, but at least in my community, you hunt trophies the way that you can. I might be able to play some AAA titles, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the person that's playing all the Retallica games and getting all the quick platinums, maybe that's the only types of games that they can access. Maybe that's the time frame that they have to play games while
Mm.
juggling a job and kids and a family. So I don't feel like it's in our place to judge that person unless they're getting up in your face and being like, "Well, I'm a better trophy hunter than you because I have all these platinums." Then I can understand why someone might be like, "Well, what the heck? You do easy games." But then again, it's we're trophy hunters. I don't think it's right to have different echelons of that. We enjoy getting trophies. We should have common ground over that. And so I think in my community, the most important thing was that common ground. I want there to be a respect, like I previously mentioned, as well as just a key positivity from doing that. Because I still play easy games. I like to play them because it gives me a break from some of the most insane grinds that I have to do in gaming. And I mean, I'm sure both of you understand. Sometimes my brain is just like, I just need something mindless to do, not having to stick to a bunch of these difficult games. So that's primarily why I like keeping it voluntary as well. Because if the person wants a review, and I've had a couple of people that are like, well, is it really just as simple as putting your username down? Yes. My only thing that I would like to communicate to them is I would just say, just keep that respect. I have a lot of reviews. I think I have something like 50 people or more lined up right now. And as a student in university, and I'm job hunting, and I'm also just kind of, still being connected to my family and everything.
Mm.
I'm not gonna have time to do a million reviews a week. And if even if I did, those reviews wouldn't be as quality as I would like them, and that's not something that I want to put out because when I do a review for somebody, I want not only it to be genuine, I want it to be as professional as possible, and I want them to feel like it was worth getting their account reviewed by me. And I've still got a lot of learning to go. I understand that, and I know there's things that I am looking forward to bringing in the future, but that's just part of the journey, right? And I have fun with doing that, so it will always remain voluntary, no matter what. And I'm never gonna lock somebody out from doing that unless something is really off. And then besides that, even if something is off with someone's account, like maybe they have a lot of hidden trophies or something, I'll talk to them on the side and figure that out. I'm not just gonna completely outright, you're not getting a review, because then I'm not setting a good example of being a positive person for that exact scenario.
Are you single? Because you seem like a good catch.
Careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Careful.
No, so I don't wanna wait for 50 people, but just kinda top of your head, I mean, you've looked at CJ's profile, you've looked at my profile. Kinda rapid fire thoughts on that?
Oh, goodness.
There is not
Okay.
enough time left in anyone's life to
Yeah.
discuss my profile. So let's look at Mindy's.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and pull it up again because I don't have that open right now.
You don't have to, by the way, I was just joking around.
Rapid fire, I got, like, 5 things real quick.
Wait,
Um,
let's kinda give it a sec, because CJ's gonna cut this bit out.
Well, just while you're looking there, I'll give you a moment to look or whatever else. I just like to echo. I think what you're sort of saying, and what I'm seeing more and more, and in the trophy community, it is becoming more and more positive, which I think is great through work like yourself or whatever. But I think we still have a little bit of a way to go. But for listeners, while Llama's just doing a quick hatchet job on Mindy's profile here, if you're looking for other positivity outside of the direct trophy community, there is a fantastic podcast, Gamers with Jobs, that's been around forever. And admittedly they're not a PlayStation focused podcast, but they cover all sorts of games, and it is a really positive conversation as well, because I know not all of these bigger mainstream podcasts are positive. Some of them market on the other side as well. So it's just there's plenty of options out there, but that should have given you enough time
oh, yeah,
now
I'm all ready to
to
go.
prepare your hatchet. So I'll
Okay,
let you have the floor.
so quick, like, really quick
He
review.
secretly pulled up your
Yeah,
profile as
no,
well,
yeah.
CJ.
Uh, no, I already got Mindy's up.
Don't need a hatchet for that.
Yeah. 'Cause remember, this is all voluntary, so unless he gives me direct permission, I can't do it. So, um, so Mindy, one of the things I really like about your account, even I'm, like, scrolling through and I'm going through A's and through the B's because I do this all in alphabetical order. I'm seeing quite a number of well-known titles and those that are maybe lesser known, and indie titles, those that people may not play as often. For example, I love whenever I see Alice Madness Returns because a lot of people that I see don't have that game, and I think that's fantastic. You've got a great completion rate. You're at 97.17, which would be like an A plus in my own personal rating, even though I don't do number ratings on my channel.
Boom.
Obviously, you've got super impressive platinums on your rarest trophies. You got Friday the 13th. You've got games that people can't even get a hold of anymore. Adventure Time: The Secret of the Nameless Kingdom is a great example. That's no longer available in any capacity. Great stacks. I'm scrolling through and I could see like Assassin's Creed, the Broken Sword games are awesome. Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse, that's a great 100%. Costume Quest 1 and 2, those are also a good example of games that people may not have heard of, but are still awesome. And I highly implore anybody to play those games as well. And then Far Cry, you have all the Far Cry games, as far as I know, completed.
I don't have 2. The hard ones. I don't have the hard ones on there.
But these are still impressive because, that takes a lot of time, I'm sure, to get Far Cry 4 done and Primal and all that as well. You've got Final Fantasy 7 on your list. That's great. So those are just like a few examples. Obviously, I could keep going through. Oh, Hitman Absolution. That's a good catch too. But you just have a great mix of different gaming experiences. And I think that comes out for yourself as well, that you enjoy exploring and kind of being a little adventurous too, maybe in your trophy hunting. I'm not sure if that's completely representative of what you feel as is your thoughts on your own trophy list.
Well, I am a point and click chick, so I do likes me some
There you go.
adventure games.
Those are great.
I'm a little bummed. I watched your most recent one, and you took some time to talk about how he played a whole bunch of Lego games, and I was like, "Damn, I wanted him to look at my profile and see that I've got all of these
Ooh, look
all
at
of
that.
these Lego
That is
games just
beautiful.
kinda hanging out there." I have listeners will know I have lost my mind. I lost it quite a while ago, but,
Oh,
um, I have decided to do, every stack of every Lego game,
well, you just blew.
except for Lego Rock Band, because that's not a Lego game, CJ. CJ, that might be the new question. We might ditch Mega Man and get everyone's opinion on.
Oh, I like that.
So let's start with you, Llama. Is Lego Rock Band a Lego game, or is it a Rock Band game?
I would say it's a Lego game through title, not through gameplay mechanics. So, unlike, because from looking at this, you've clearly blown Jam Lime out of the water because he had all those Lego games on his list too, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty awesome." But you have Dimensions. He didn't have Dimensions. You have all the stacks for Marvel superheroes, which was fantastic. That was one of my favorites. Lego Pirates. I love seeing that on people's lists. You have Star Wars: The Force Awakens 3 times, which is something that he didn't have. I'm actually surprised I'm remembering the differences between y'all's Lego collections, especially after I think that review was like an hour and a half, and I was coming down with a cold. So I was, as soon as I finished the review, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go pass out now, and just knocked out. And you even have Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. Now, are you excited? Since you do have all these Lego games, are you excited for the new Star Wars one that's coming out with all 9 films?
I'm excited to see what they've done with the how they've redone the original Lego Star Wars games.
Hmm.
Because I feel like if I remember them correctly, because I have not played them since my PS2 days, like the original one that never had any trophies. It it probably plays like a nightmare now.
Yeah.
Uh, just in terms of how, how much has evolved kind of quality of life wise in the Lego series. Like I seem to remember you had if you wanted to get 100%, you had to get True Jedi in story mode and in free play, and like a bunch of stuff was timed, and I think maybe sub multipliers were not a thing in that very early one. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. I like Star Wars well enough. It is not my favorite property. So when people ask my favorite Lego games, Star Wars is not one that comes up because I've always said that your enjoyment of these comes out of how much you like the property it's based on. But no, I'm definitely gonna pick it up. Definitely gonna play it. I'll use it to break up the 3 other Lego DC supervillain stacks I have to do.
Yeah. That's still impressive. One thing, I scrolled down here and I was thinking about this too because I was looking through the Q&A stuff for the future video that I'm going to do. And somebody asked me, it's not a game that was out before I was born, but it was definitely one that I picked up and I was like, wow, I love this. You have the Prince of Persia games on your account, and I love those. This makes me very happy.
I do. I need to go. Wait, I'm sorry. Are you saying you weren't born when the Sands of Time games came out?
Yeah, no, I was, yeah, Stanley.
Oh, Jesus.
But however,
I didn't realize how young you were.
yeah, but the Prince of Persia: The Sands of
Oh,
Time
and
is
I
one of
asked
my
if you
favorites.
were single.
No.
She's not going to retract that offer, though. What I like about
That's
you,
not getting
Llama,
edited
is
out.
you've fantastically walked the line here of not answering the question, but also answering it. So I think that's fantastic. Can I ask, are you studying psychology, sir?
No, I'm actually
Oh,
in,
I think that would be a good fit.
yeah, I'm actually right now in uni for health sciences. I wanna, be in, work in a hospital with kids.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I like that you're playing both sides there with Mindy. It's fantastic. And look, Mindy, you've just been llamaed. Would you like to take a moment and have a cigarette, or are you okay to continue?
I mean, I that was pretty great. So I might have to.
So
She she disappeared.
let's
No.
time that stamp that, listeners, at 1 hour 46 minutes. That's the part of the episode Mindy will be listening to this week. On repeat. So look, why don't we start to mosey on towards the end, because we can't keep Llama forever, Mindy. He's a young man. He's got better things to do than spend it with old dinosaurs, such as ourselves. So why don't we now, Llama? This is something we do here towards the end of each show. We call it the spam of the week, if
Okay.
you like. Now, look, we're just speculating. If you'd like to join us with this, we'd love to have you. It's only a very short section, or if you prefer not to, that is also acceptable.
Okay.
And we're just pulling some lists from the games list here from profiles. Anything? Is there anything we like that could perhaps be quick this week for our listeners?
From recent games that have been.
Yeah.
So this week's Rata game, Knighting Plus, right?
Yes.
So that's probably going to be very quick. I know someone who's played this. It's like a Zelda knockoff.
Yes. Yeah.
There are cheat codes you can put in. I think Bad Driver posted them, which make this an absolutely nothing game.
Mhm.
Otherwise, there was a bit of a challenge, emphasis on a bit.
I'm
Yes,
thinking,
yes.
looking here, I see bricks. I know that was a really quick game, at least for the original one. I'm pretty sure this is a follow up. I never played them myself, but I think that'll probably be something that people can play
Yeah,
quickly.
that's actually quite fun. So the previous brick games were a single player game. If you like, this is a head to head. Most of it's with the CPU, but you can play local as well with another person, split screen, and the trophies are based around that. So
Mm,
no, it is quick and quite enjoyable. Yes.
This is like an Arkanoid clone, Brick Breaker clone, right?
Yes.
The Bricks games.
That is correct. The Rata game for next week is going to be interesting. Gun Bar Super Strikers. It's a strategy turn-based soccer. Well, I was going to say RPG, but a strategy turn-based soccer game with some XP leveling. It's not going to be the usual 1 hour feast. So we will see what people think of that. That's a bit of a departure from the games they have previously ported. Anything else anyone likes?
I played the Rata game from last week that Reed remastered.
Mm.
It is spam, but it's a cheap game. No, it is because you need to figure out very quickly that your character, if you want to turn around, your character's going to take a step forward, and more often than not, that means you're just going to walk into the spike you were trying to avoid anyway.
Yes.
So it
Yeah.
is annoying to get a handle on, but it's still spam. It's just a little. It might take you a little longer.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. There's a bit of a slide effect going on in that game sometimes too, off the jump, so it just adds to the aggravation.
There is, yeah. I actually went into the options and turned off. There's an option to turn off the screen shaking, which I highly recommend you
Yeah.
do.
And then I see Bucket
nice.
Night as well is coming. That will also be, I think, under an hour flat, but not a Rata game, but of similar style. So,
Did we mention in the last one the new port of Night in the Forum that doesn't require the VR?
oh, I didn't know about this. No.
That's a very quick 100%. I assume this is a non-VR because it's not tagged as VR this time.
Oh, I did not, because originally it was VR.
It is, and I think this is a VR optional. Yes, I'm looking at the forums. It looks like Black Vulture says does not require PSVR. So that's like a 10-minute 100%. So definitely spam.
So it seems like a perfect time to move to the Push2Plat Platinum community on the PS4. Remember, listeners, this is a free community. If you'd like to join and post your Plat pics, please do. If you want to include a little bit about the game, do as well. It all helps us learn and grow with our games. And look, the club is growing, so why don't you join? Why not? So let's have a look at who we have this week. We start off with Gaz Davis. And he says, well, we do 100% as well as Plats here, right? Of course we do, Gaz. A trophy is a trophy is a trophy. And he likes to celebrate Abzu for 100%. De Easty is back as usual. Number 629, Monster Energy Supercross 3. So this is a big game, Easty. I'm impressed. He goes on to say tough challenges and broken trophies. Fun. So this is disappointing for me, Easty. I love racing games, so I'm sorry to hear that. But to be honest, I put a good 5 minutes into this game and I already noticed that it was going to be harder than the previous two iterations, so I'm not hugely shocked here. On to Redbeard Rick, number 120, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. What a fantastic use of your life, boosting that multiplayer, sir, to level 50. Fantastic. EDJG, he is back. Far Cry Primal. He goes on to say it's a decent game, same old standard Ubisoft Platinum. Well, no surprises there, sir. And a new member to the group, Athena-70, with the classic in spam titles, but probably done legit these days, I believe, Sound Shapes. So, if you want your Platinum Red, make sure you join, make sure you post. I'll be back here next week, but let's go back to past CJ to wrap this out. No, and see, look, we're all learning something today, listeners. So, look, Mindy, I think perhaps we both needed this. This is a lovely. I had a feeling it was going to be very conversational, very chilled, very relaxed, and it has turned out to be that. So, look, it's been fantastic, Llama. I do want to thank you a lot for talking to us today. We talked to a wide range of different people, but it's always refreshing to talk to someone so young who's so knowledgeable and so wise for your age. So I do wish you the best in your future with your channel, and I look forward to see where you're going. And I suppose with having said that, how can our listeners find you and your content if they're looking for you?
Well, if you're looking to find my content, one of the things that you could do on YouTube is just type in lawless_llama, and that way you can find the channel and the Coffee Cove. If you like what you see, feel free to join the Coffee Cove. We're going to be doing some community events and giveaways soon. So that might be an extra incentive as well. But if you're just looking for a positive community, somebody or people and friends, new friends to just get together with, that might be the perfect place. You can also look me up on the forums. PSN Profiles has a forums thing, and you can find me through there and get in contact me with through there. Or if you are just looking for a new Discord server, the Coffee Cove, that's also a link in any of the YouTube videos that we have, as well as I think on my PSN Profiles page. I need to put it on my regular PlayStation page. But feel free to send me a friend request. I accept them as long as there's no blank things. Tell me a funny joke or something. That helps.
Oh, CJ, you're out.
It's tough. I tell you what, there must be some merit in one-man shows. I need to look into this more, I feel, Llama. So, Mindi, as always, thank you so much. I know there's a lot of things going on, but I really appreciate your time this morning, and so does our community. Our thoughts are with you every day. Where can we find you if we're looking for you?
Twitter at themindisacity, because apparently I won't be on this podcast much longer if CJ's to be believed.
Well, it could be a one-woman show.
Oh God, no, I can't do this myself. I also have a coffee. You are valued, CJ. You are valued and appreciated. We're back to my personal plug, though. I have a coffee page, not Llama's kind of coffee. ko-fi.com/themindisacity. It's a tip jar. It's just a way to say thank you for guide writing, and it helps me purchase games to write guides for, because I don't, except for Artifacts Monday, I don't get dev codes.
And listeners, if you're looking for the show, you know the spiel. It is available on all good podcast providers and YouTube. If you'd like to come and say hi, please do so. Our Discord link is in the show notes. The Push2Plat Platinum community is on the PS4. It's a free community to post your platinums, and we'll give you a shout out in the show. You can find us on Twitter at push2plat, push the number 2plat, or you can send us an email at push2plat@gmail.com. If you really want to help us out, we also have a Patreon page. All the money goes back into the running of the show, of course. Go and check it out. There'll be a link in the show notes. So, look, I've enjoyed today a lot. I want to thank you, Llama, one final time. I want to thank you, as always,
Thank you.
as always, Mindi. And I'd like to thank you, listeners. Stay positive. Stay happy, earn many, many trophies, many, many platinums. Have a wonderful week. Thank you both.
Bye.
Bye-bye.